good afternoon, and good evening to you. Welcome again to TFH, the Full 100. This is where the truth is told. Today is Friday, the 8th of May, 2020. So this is a further clarification to my statements yesterday. Well, before I start today's show, I've got another video to show you just to further emphasize the urgency in creating the Union of Black Nations. So without further ado, guys, let's get to it. Now, have a look at today's show, today's video. However, before I play the video, I must warn you, this is a video that I found online. However, it replicates so many other ones that I've seen in the past. Please take a look. Welcome back. I shall now begin my statement. Good day to you all. Yesterday, I called for serious attempts at changing the destiny of Black lives. A change which I believe will make the change from cradle to grave. I called for a coming together of all nations who identify as Black. A coming together for the common goal of the nations involved. A coming together which, if my vision is realized, will lead to the security of the ordinary Black individual in any territory across the planet. I asked for talks to begin as soon as travel restrictions are lifted. I urged President Obama and current South African President Ramaphosa to open the lines of communication to begin discussing logistics and possibilities. A journey to the moon and back still has to begin with the first mile. I wish to go further today to address some matters that I can see from the last 24 hours needs to be expanded on. I will use today's statement to address three components of my initiative. 1, the Security Council. 2, the principle of one diplomatic voice. And lastly, the principle of one army. I'll start with the Security Council. The vision is of a council established to speak as one voice for all member states, similar to the existing UN Security Council. I propose that all 54 countries of the African continent, plus the 13 island nations of the West Indies, including Cuba. My proposal is for fair representation for all nations in the council. This can be achieved through rotated representation by mutual agreement. My proposal, if put in place, will have 8 sitting members at all times. The 8 members will be the rulers of those countries, of their countries. These 8 current sitting members would have to proportionately represent faiths, languages for historical affiliations, and geographical location. For example, of the 80 countries mentioned, many more are Christian than are Islamic countries. So you could argue that 5 members should always come from Christian countries and 3 from the Islamic nations. You could then have, with regards languages spoken, 3 of English-speaking nations, 3 French-speaking nations, and 2 Spanish-speaking nations. Countries such as Cuba and Dominica are Spanish-speaking nations, Black Spanish-speaking nations. And finally, you could argue, based on geographical location, that the continent of Africa have at least half the members on the Security Council. Based on this principle, you can have 2 French, 2 English speaking, as well as 2 Christian and 2 Islamic nations just from the continent of Africa, which then has met 3 of the criteria by picking those 4 nations and then leaving the number other 4 countries to be made up from outside of the continent. My proposal will see 80 countries from 8 groups of 10 select 1 country every 5 years to represent each group. This means you have 10 groups of 8 countries. Each group nominates somebody every 5 years to represent that group on the Security Council. The Security Council will be the sole diplomatic voice representing sovereign nations and private citizens alike, regardless of territory. It will be the only entity able to call for military intervention, humanitarian intervention, evacuations, representation on world matters, as well as intervention in legal injustices and other individual citizen matters. However, the remit of the Council will be to represent every human being of African descent on the globe. While speaking for member nations on the international stage, each member nation is still a sovereign nation, and so, if so chooses, can speak for itself on the world stage. I'm now going to go to the second topic, which is the One Army. I called yesterday for a pooling of armies, equipment, intelligence, experience, knowledge, and expertise to form one army of black nations. I propose this army be contributed to in terms of manpower, funding, research and development, and intelligence capacity by all member states. I propose nominating designated territories and countries to act as bases for the BN Army, the Black Nations Army. Locations for its Marines, Army troops, naval ports, and Air Force bases. My suggestion also includes allocating a Pentagon-style headquarters in a chosen country. I propose, under the command of the BN Army, task forces for coastal and sea rescue, mountain rescue, rapid evacuation response teams, humanitarian relief capacity, and a medical and pandemic response teams should be put together, trained, equipped to the highest world standards, and managed and deployed under the BN Army. The BN Army's goal must be independence. Independence from dependency on any nations outside of its membership. To achieve this, the leadership must begin developing an arms industry as a case of urgency. The Army's development plan must be inclusive of all nations, so the technology and wealth, employment opportunities, and local supply chain requirements are evenly spread amongst all member states. Let me finish on this. My vision is not of an army preparing for a so-called race war, nor is it to intimidate or seek revenge. It is a must-have tool in diplomacy. Without a respected force, we are nobodies. In the process of building this project, many of the member nations will all improve their own domestic forces, services, rescue capabilities, equipment and training, which in turn will benefit local citizens in all member states. Hopefully next time there's a flood or drought in Africa, the pictures we'll see will be of well-equipped, well-trained, well-clothed black faces from the Black Nations Army carrying out relief rescue ships on the coast of Cuba or the Bahamas, rescuing hurricane victims. These are my dreams of tomorrow. Last one diplomatic voice. My vision is to bring together all member states' requirements, goals, plans, necessities, and more, so as to align them in such a way as to complement each other's. This is not a call for economic union. This is not the European Union or the African Union, but more a serious attempt at economic partnering, political partnering, scientific, military, technological, educational, and security partnering. This will ensure an even and steady pace of growth amongst all member states. It will ensure fast development similar to China or UAE's in recent memory. Representation in the trade, defense, health, foreign affairs, internal affairs, security, aviation, space industry, manufacturing, fisheries, homeland security, Union of Black Nations spokespeople will be evenly and strategically chosen and must be rotated every 5 years. These posts will be the faces representing the Union on the world stage. They will, however, always act on orders of the Security Council, who in turn takes its orders or pursues policies laid out by member states through mutually beneficial goals and interests. All of this is possible as long as we are willing, as long as we adopt a can-do attitude rather than a defeatist one. This is not a should we do this time. It is a we must do this moment. Contact your leaders, parliamentarians, contact your senators and governors, write to your mayors and councillors. No noise is too little. As for my President Barack Obama, you are the only black person of prominence who carries enough clout to get this going. Please do this for the Black nations and the Black peoples of planet Earth. Now, that is the end of my statement. Please feel free to connect with me on social media for further clarification. I will be putting out further statements as the days and the weeks go by. What you can do for us and for every one of us is contact your mayors, contact your councillors, contact your MPs, especially your black ones. Those of you in black nations, contact your leaders, contact your senators, your prime ministers, and draw attention to this to as many people, your churches. This will definitely save lives. The video at the beginning of this show shows a group of black, hundreds, if not thousands of black people in chaos. If that were to happen with the Security Council already established, then we wouldn't have to ask what nationality they are, where they've come from. There will be no such need to do that, because the Security Council will see them all as one people and send assistance. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you guys back on Monday. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye.